barbers I got.
Right. It's I asked for the Boogie Bob special. They gave it right to me. Didn't even
Yeah.
got right in.
Hey, salute to y'all, man. It's Swish for real. We are in the building. We got Donovan Lewis, Boogie Bob, Boogie, my co-host. Boogie, how you living, man? How things going on your side of the planet, man?
Dilly dilly. Going good. I've been hanging out in the hood.
Oh, wow. Hey, man, that's you, man. It's good to see you, man. I know we're trying to hunker down in this cold weather here in Dallas, Texas. So, we're trying to keep it warm as possible up in here for sure. And welcome back to the show. Donovan Lewis, man.
My people, what's up? What's up?
How you been? How things going on your side of the planet, man?
And they are going, rocking and rolling, man. Just trying to prepare for whatever's gonna happen weather-wise, but we're doing well, man. Everything's going good. How about you guys? How you guys doing?
Man, good on my side of the planet. Been trying to work on my next film. Just finished writing it. Casting for it now, trying to get the right actors for it.
Okay.
Hopefully, we can get it done. We should be filming at the end of February, so we just got a little bit of time ahead.
I just want to let you know I did the Glass Menagerie in high school. So if you're looking for somebody, no, I'm kidding. I have no acting skills. I can't do anything.
Man, sure, I would stick you right in there because we always looking for actors, man. I ain't tripping.
I think he could pass his Uncle Drew.
No, well, without the ball handling skills, all the gray hair, and none of the ball handling skills.
Yeah. An Uncle Drew after he's retired 20, 30 years sitting in the rocking chair talking about how good he used to be.
Right, boy, that's perfect for me right there. You know what? I'd be nominated for an Oscar if that's the role for me. I can do just
But the Landman is a pretty popular right now. And they asked Tommy Lee. He said, "I don't rehearse." He goes, "I just play myself."
There you go. There you go. If I played myself, it'd be a lot of naps and a lot of watching TV. If you need a role for that, then I'm your man. I got that locked down.
I would keep that in mind.
There you go.
So first talking, man, I wanted to jump in, and we actually had this conversation in one of our previous episodes as far as the podcast go. The AAU circuit, man, has been in the talks nowadays recently because of what David West kind of expressed about how it's kind of corrupt and the coaches are just in it for the money and they're not really trying to teach the kids. It's been kind of a sad story when it comes to AAU because me personally, I coached in AAU and I didn't take a dime. I mean, I was basically just working hard trying to make our kids play the best of their abilities, and we won a lot of games. But considering what David West said, Donovan, what are your thoughts on the current situation with AAU and compared to what's going on in Europe, man? What are your thoughts on AAU for United States?
Well, it's such a double-edged sword to me because you do have an outlet for these kids to you know what? I was telling my coworker, Matt McLaren, who I do the show with, his son loves basketball. And he's a freshman at a Catholic high school. And just he said that the team is not very good, but his son works really hard and he loves basketball. And I was telling him it's so many different outlets to where they can play now and grow their game, whether it's high school, whether it's AAU, and even if they graduate, if you don't feel they'll be Division I kids, they can go junior college, they can go D2. It's just so many different options for these kids to go out and explore their game. So sometimes I do feel that coaches, kind of take advantage of that in that AAU because they know these kids have kind of stars in their eyes, and then they have stars in their eyes also. So it's difficult, I think, to try and find the people who are truly in it to try and grow the kids' talent and to see and to make sure that it's for the kids because there's just so much money involved. Man, we always talk about it. The OJ sung about it. Money, it's the root of all evil, and it could just get people sideways as far as their commitment and what they want to do. And they may want to start out with the proper ideas and thoughts in mind about helping kids, but then things just get in the way because it's just so big And I think that's what
Mhm.
punishes the kids more than anything, because it's gotten so big, and then you just can't help it, I guess, at times, with people just trying to take advantage of it. So, man, it's not going to stop. It's always going to happen. It's going to continue because of the outlet and because how big it's gotten. I think if you're a parent, you just have to kind of be mindful and do a lot of research about how this can help your kid, and make sure you're doing it for your kid and not for any other ulterior motives, because there's just so many out there. So I say good on David West to kind of putting it out there and exposing it,
Mhm.
to kind of put a light on it, to make sure we can get some of that stuff out of it. But dude, you were in the game for so long. You know how difficult that is. And people with ulterior motives, as far as trying to do it for themselves instead of doing
Mhm.
it for the kids, and actually what it's meant for. So, man, unfortunately, it's gonna continue to be that way. You're just gonna have to kind of try to weed out the bad apples in it, but it's so many that I don't know if you can possibly do it.
Is it possible for the AAU circuit that we have here in the United States kind of mirror what's going on in Europe? Because Europe has clubs and
Right,
you
right.
kids up from elementary all the way through into professional. Is it possible that we can do that, or it just too much money involved?
Man, I think it's really difficult to try and even think about putting the toothpaste back in the tube. It's so many people that are in it, and it's dirty, and it's difficult to think that you can kind of change this whole thing up because of the fact that every a lot of people are involved. So, man, I don't think so, but I think it would benefit the kids more if they did. That'd be a whole lot better. But I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, because what they're saying is that the kids that go through Euro ball, they're more intellectually inept to the game. They think the game better than what we have as far as the one-on-one
Right.
type situation, which I see in a lot of it. I didn't like my players doing that because when they did that, I put them on the bench. This is a team game. Everybody's got to touch the ball. The ball's got to move. But in Euro, that's their thought process, and
Yeah.
mainly a lot of what we see here in the United States is one-on-one.
And you have so many people in the kids' ear, probably, telling them
Yeah.
how they're the best and they should dominate and shoot and all that other stuff. So the coaches are trying to do their thing, even the good ones, like you, try to do your thing. But maybe so many different people in their ears saying, "Dude, just do this," and they kind of emulate what they see on TV. But not kind of, they emulate what they see on TV. That's really difficult to get out. So yeah, man, it's just kind of gotten out of hand a bit because the game has changed, and until it kind of changes back to what may be more of a team game on some levels. Sometimes you
Yeah.
do have that, but on some levels, until it changes back to that, man, I don't see it. I see everything kind of staying the same.
Jeez. Boogie Bob, your thoughts on that as far as what David West said about the exposing the situation when it comes to how they manipulate the AAU circuit with the money involved.
When I saw this on the run sheet, I was like, I'm not going to have much to say. And then I was watching the video. I was like, oh, I got a lot to say about this. Uh, he makes the point of hustle versus grind. And I think there's some truth to that. Uh, and to Donnie's point, the game's changed. It's like no matter what the team is, everybody's wearing a Stephen Curry jersey, and playing hero ball. But I disagreed with the way he categorized. He said all coaches,
Mm,
and he was talking about, well, those that played, those that got, skins on the wall and all, that got credentials, know what to do. And he throws everybody in the same bucket. And he says those people that don't have skills and don't, he goes, well, they shouldn't be teaching. And that's where I disagree with him because, you and I coached, and there's a lot of good coaches that, we never played D1. We never played, but we studied the game. We intellectually analyzed the game. We know how to teach
yes.
skills. So that part of it, when he lumped everybody in the same category, I think that was a disservice. Uh, the other thing is you can have knowledge to teach skills without ever having been a professional athlete. Uh, just simple drills. And I went to one of your practices. It's like we spent of a 2 hour practice, we spent an hour on dribbling. And,
Hmm.
I played hockey growing up. So our coach always said 85% of the game was skating, uh, 10% was passing, and 5% was shooting. Well, the analogy in basketball is 70, 80% is passing, dribbling, and shooting. But you get the kids in the gym and all they want to do is shoot. They don't want to pass. So a few bad apples does not represent 100% of the coaches that are out there that are trying to teach these kids. And one thing when Donnie's bringing that up, I think NIL was part of the blame. So people are always going to chase the money. Uh, Less than 1%, it's like 0.1% of all athletes ever make any pro. It doesn't matter whether it's hockey, football, basketball, baseball. So it's a very low percentage. That's why as a coach, I always took it a responsibility is to teach the kids life lessons, teach them how to overcome adversity. Uh, and what I saw, and I still see, I watched some of the AU games. I didn't coach any of the AU. Coach Byron did, but the fundamentals of the game are missing or lacking. They don't, you may teach an offense or a defense, but you don't teach situational plays. You don't teach. You might have an end down play, but you don't really teach the thinking part of the game that comes with it. And some of the best thinkers or basketball IQ players are the ones that are the least talented because the way they survive against talent is they think about what they've got to do to succeed. If the other guy can jump higher than you, you jump before him, then you're in the air before he does. So it doesn't matter if he can out jump you, as long as you know his move. If he's only got one move, you can jump before him. So I think the fundamentals, that's kind of what David West was talking about with grinding. We always, and I know you said this too, a pass beats a dribble 100% of the time. And we used to have drills where two guys were throwing it back and forth and someone had to chase it. Another one that trying to dribble. But basketball IQ isn't being taught in the United States. The emphasis is on winning, not development. That's one thing Byron always taught me is develop players. If you're winning a game and you know what's in hand, then pull your starters out, put the end of the bench in so they can play. So you're always developing. And that's where in Europe you have the same coach for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And so you're used to the same one and you can't just, oh, I'm going to go to IMG Academy or Mount Verde or any of the other prep schools. And I'm not dissing those because those are great schools, but you don't have no place to run. You're either going to be in the system or you're not. So I think that attributes to it. And skills training is just something that's part of coaching. And yeah, there's some people out there that charge for skills. And I'm not against people, sharing the wealth, but the coaches that are just there to win instead of develop players or actually improve their skills. We spent 75% of our limited practice time teaching skills, just pure basketball skills.
Yeah.
And then the other things, relationships matter. So as a coach, I always take it as my responsibility is to teach them life lessons. Even that way, if they don't become a pro, like Donnie said, the D1, D2, junior college, but even if they don't ever play in college, even if it's just pickup or intramural, they've learned life lessons on how to get through life. And to me, that's more important than winning a basketball game is teaching them how to, the life lessons, how to overcome adversity. And then I'll leave with this. There's no substitute for hard work. If you want something, work for it. Even if you don't get it, you still never give up. You put in the hard work. And I think that was the heart of David West's message was it's hard. Even when you make it to the pros, it's hard. And that's what he was talking about when he's saying about grinding is you got to put in the hard work. And a lot of these kids, they don't want to put in the hard work. Outside of practice, when I played hockey, we had practice once or twice a week. The other 5 days a week, I was on the ice rink skating, improving my skating. And you see these players that when you're not at practice, they're in the gym. They're in the gym as much as the parents will let them. So no matter what skill, I mean, if it's college, you study more, you read more. If you're going to be on-air journalists like Donnie here. You got to put in the hard work. Nobody's just going to hand it to you. And I'm sure Donovan put in a lot of hard work to get where he's at the ticket.
It was a long road, Boogie Bob, a long road, but we got there. We got there.
Yeah.
I really like what you're saying, and it's just, man, I don't want to be old man sitting here on the lawn yelling at clouds. I really truly don't. But it just feels a little different now because it feels like now the younger generation wants what they want, and they want it as soon as they can get it. And
Yeah.
it's a little difficult to wrap your head around when because one of the things, and I just saw this the other day, man. It's really wild that you guys bring this up. I just saw this the other day. Where was I? Oh man, I can't remember where I was, and there were some kids there, and they asked, "Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And I can remember, people trying to ask me that, and you have these different things what you want to be when you grow up. Now sports are so big, they make so much money now, and we all know how much money they make. You get well, I want to be a professional athlete. And we all had that in us. I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player until I was like 13, 14 years old. And then I realized I couldn't throw, I couldn't catch, I couldn't run, kind of knocked me out my wheelchair. But, you have those aspirations, of course, but it just feels like it's a little bit different now with the younger generation about so many different ways that you can go about trying to get what you want. And like Boogie Bob said, it's so few that will actually achieve what they want. The disappointment is real, but you have shoe companies, you have drink companies and all that investing in all this and pouring so much money in it that, man, it's tough for, I think, kids and coaches to not fall for the banana in the tailpipe. It's tough for them not to say, well, I'm going to do this. And maybe the guys that are in charge are compromised because of it and what they're getting and all that. And I just don't think there's no coming back from it, man. And I don't think, like Boogie Bob said, I don't think it's 100% of the coaches out there that are just doing bad or just looking out for themselves and not for the kids. But a few apples will spoil the whole bunch, and they're gonna all be looked at like they're doing that, and they're not. So while he was talking some good, I think like Bob said, he's just kind of grouping everyone into that same group. And I don't think that's right. I think there are some very genuine guys out there, coaches, that are looking out for those kids and trying to teach those kids and trying to be truthful with them and trying to go out there and win basketball games. That's what it's all about. They do it in high school. They do it at AAU. This is what it's all about. But it's just gotten out of hand a little bit, and I don't think there's any control in it.
Yeah, one player, well, not player, one coach, well, formerly coach, he didn't coach in the big leagues, but he always said he was better than Michael Jordan. That would be Lamar Ball. I really admire what he did with his boys, even though only two of them got to the league. It goes to show you that, people who put in the work get out there and get their kids to certain levels in life, even though I think their kids, I guess, both of them were pretty decent as far as point guards go. But, I think he did a great job putting his kids where they are and going through that ranking 5 with the AAU circuit. So
he kind of went about it the sometimes the wrong way, putting the focus and maybe having people not like his kids because of him. And that's a little bit, man, you may not want to do that, but dude, you can't deny what the heck he did. He spoke into his existence. He talked the talk and he backed it up. So I'm with you on that. Sometimes he got to an avenue of where he was trying to do it, where it was like, I don't know about that, but he did his thing for sure.
Even Cooper Flagg's mom had a lot to do with his development, and his dad too. Even though she played college ball, she made sure that, what's the saying? He said, if you're the best player in the gym, you need to find a different gym.
Right.
Yeah, she told him that. So it's like the parents a lot of times just want to hire a babysitter and enter their kids in some sports, and the kid may not even be involved in sports. But the parents that back the kids that truly want to play, and you watch them put in the hard work, you see them succeed. My biggest pleasure is when they graduate after 3-4 years after I've coached them, they come up to me and say, "Hey, coach, I got a scholarship in this, and I'm going to so and so, and I'm studying this." I'm like,
yeah.
that just, it's like I did my job, even
Right.
though I'm not their biological parent. I was like, I wouldn't be any more proud if I was their biological parent. And, that speaks volumes that they respected you enough. And I was hard on the best player, but I'd also take the worst player and support them and take them aside and coach them. And it's like you invest your time in them, and then they remember that when they grow up to wherever they choose to go.
Facts.
Adults they will ruin kids sometimes. It's the adults that are acting like kids at times that kind of ruin everything. While the kids will have those high aspirations because they're kids. That's what they're supposed to do. We all thought we were going to be professional athletes. That's one thing. But then I think sometimes the adults who are supposed to be the adults don't act like it. And that's what kind of ruins everything.
Facts. I know you guys mentioned Uncle Drew earlier. Yeah, Kyrie Irving, man, he's coming back. As far as we know, he should be in a couple of weeks. Hopefully, I don't know for sure if it's going to be a couple of weeks or not. Boogie Bob, do you think Kyrie should just go ahead and kind of rest this season, or should he come back and try to help develop? This team has won 4 in a row as far as the Dallas Mavericks go. But do you think he should basically rest the rest of the season, come back next year, him and AD? I'm not quite sure what they're going to do with AD, but what are your thoughts on what's going on with Kyrie right now? Should he come back or not?
I mean, there's the fan of me, and then there's the logic. As a GM, Donnie Nelson, Dirk wanted to play. They were playing San Antonio. I think it's game 3. He got hurt. It was the Western Conference Finals. And Dirk was ready to go. And the doctors cleared him, and Ellie said, "You're not playing." And Dirk was upset. He said later on in his career, that's the best thing that ever happened to him.
Mm.
I think, and I said this at the beginning of the year, I said, without Kyrie, thinking All-Star, if they were managed to be 26-26, when Kyrie come back, they would have to be 20-10 just to get the 46 wins, which is what I estimated would take to get in the playoffs. Well, they're not 26-26. So I, as a fan, want to see him. As a general manager, go through your rehab, come back next year, play in the summer, continue the rehab, get stronger. Don't let something else. So the fan of you wants to see him. A GM is like, not so much. But there's 7 games out of 500, even with the win last night. So even if he came back right now, like next week, the Mavs would have to go 22-15 just to get to 500, just to get the 41 wins. That they
I
would have
mean,
to.
like with him being 33 years old, man, that's a lot asking for him. And if he comes back next year, then he'll be 34, and his birthday is going to be in March of this year, so he'll be 34 this year.
Isn't Stephen Curry like 36 or 37?
And LeBron's 98, so
Yeah, and still two-hand tomahawk. Not my point is if he comes back, they have to win 56% of their games just to get the 41, and that may not even get them in the play-in. So I don't say there's any real benefit for him to play this year other than to put butts in the seats and sell a few tickets. And they lost a lot of fans and a lot of money, and they're still losing a lot of money with or without AD. So I mean, the fan draw, yeah, Cooper is great. The young cats, man, they are playing hard. They giving it, and so Kyrie can still influence his team without playing. He, even if he just practices, just his senior leadership. Klay Thompson's been there. Just the fact that his wisdom can be imparted in Nebhard and B. Will, who you've loved from the beginning.
Yeah, I like B. Will.
I think that's probably the better bet because they're so far behind the 8 ball right now that it's not worth risking another future injury. You remember Clay came back from a torn ACL, and then he tore his Achilles. He was practicing after the ACL. He was practicing it, and it was like preseason. They had him start training camp, and he blew out his Achilles. So I wish Kyrie all the health in the world. I love watching him, dynamite player, but just sit out. We'll see you next year.
Facts. Your thoughts on that, Donnie? You think he should stay out and wait for next year, or I mean, he's going to be 34 this year, like I stated
Yeah,
earlier. Yeah.
I'll take a different approach because I've been thinking about this a lot. And if he's ready, I would have him come back for several reasons. One, I would love to see how he and Coop are on the floor even before next year, just to kind of knock the rust off and get that done. Now, I'm not saying go out there and play him 35, 36 minutes, but if he's healthy enough to come back, I would definitely see it. And I will bet you that Patrick Dumont will want to see that also because they turned this franchise upside down with that
Mm-hmm.
trade to say that they were going to win now. And I've heard him come out and say he would love to see AD and Coop and Kyrie on the floor at the same time just to see what he has and just to see if, if they can work together because he haven't seen that yet. So if they don't trade Anthony Davis at the trade deadline and he's still here and he's healthy and Kyrie is get healthy, I say stinking do it. And it's not about the playoffs. I don't care about them making the playoffs. I really, truly don't. It's just about seeing what could possibly be to make your decision about what you want to do in the offseason. And even if it's Anthony Davis is traded at the trade deadline and Kyrie is ready, I would do that also. What if he comes back and then you say, you know what? If it's not going to work out, we're building around Coop. Maybe you trade him and get some other assets for it if that's the case. I don't know. But man, I am always of the mindset of you just never ever play scared. That's one.
Mm.
Because I'm not gonna say, well, he may get hurt and we don't want to risk a future injury, anything like that. You have to be cautious, but I would never play scared. And two, man, you have got to see what you have with this team. I really truly think so. And whether it's at the end of this year and you start instilling a little bit of winning culture around here with the guy that is probably the spiritual and emotional leader of the team, and he gets on the court to work with the Rook at 19, dude, let's
Mm-hmm.
go. I am all about it. I never ever want to give up on a year. I never call it tanking. That word is not even in my vocabulary. It's just not. I don't even believe in that. And I don't think that's what they're doing. They're going out there and trying to win because these dudes have been on teams that's been winning all the time. So I
Mm-hmm.
always say that losing sucks. If I'm playing dominoes, losing sucks. So I don't care about you having a 3.3 better percent chance of winning the lottery. I don't care. That doesn't affect me at all. Hell, I may not be here if that's the case. And I'm going to lose for you so you can get a better pick and then I'm gone. I'm not worried about that. I would just love to see the pieces that they have right now on the court to see what they have so they can build a team around that and move forward. So if that's the last month and a half with Kyrie, the last 6 weeks of the season, man, I am all for it. If you need to sit him out, load manage him, and do all that, go for it. But if he's healthy enough to get out there and he feels good about it, I would not hesitate to put him out there on the floor with Cooper.
So let me ask you this
Dude,
question. Speaking of,
that's why I said as a fan, I want to see him.
yeah,
I
As,
even think as the
yeah,
GM because
as,
they don't even have the GM in place, and it's really weird now. They're in a weird state because they have the co-GMs, but are they going to be one of those guys? Going to be the real GM that's going to put it together next year? Are they going to
and
bring?
I think that's why they haven't traded AD is because if they trade AD, one of their biggest tradable assets, before they select a GM, then when the GM comes in, it's like, hey, you already traded the biggest asset, you handcuff whoever the GM is going to be. So you really got to choose the GM first and let him choose uh, whether who they're going to keep or who
They're
they got a couple players they can let go that wouldn't really hurt them. Like they could let Dante Exum go, and as far as I'm concerned, trade Caleb Martin for some cash considerations, and then that way you can put Nebhart on a full
I don't think
contract and
I,
Cisse on a contract.
I don't think they'll consider a lot of cash for Caleb Martin, Boogie Bob. I don't know how much cash that.
Well, okay, a bag of chips.
Okay, hey, long as you make him salsa verde, I'll be okay. Salsa.
Yeah, I'm like he doesn't add anything to the party, but I mean that's two roster spots that should go to Mose Cisse and who's been playing his butt off, and Ryan Nebhart.
They're going to
so
make a move. I just don't think it's going to be the move everyone expects at the trade deadline. It's a couple weeks
yeah,
away. They may trade Gafford. They may trade Clay, but I think everyone's thinking that it's going to be AD, and I'm just not quite sure that they're going to be satisfied with taking pennies on a dollar for AD, even if that's what's out there. I just don't think they're going to take just anything because they've been taking too many stinking hits as far as moving the roster around goes. They got to make sure that what they get is at least something that you can kind of nod your head and say, I see it, because of what they've done in the past.
Let me ask you this question, Donnie, and it's going back to Kyrie and his influence on these players. The point guard position, you have B. Will, as we talked about early, and Nimhard. Can you see, and even and to some extent, Cooper Flag, can you see some of the influence that Kyrie has had on these guys as far as their play wise?
Man, I think Coop is probably the main one affected. I think Nimhard's game was pretty apparent, and I mean, it's weird in the NBA now how they don't even value a guy that will stay in school for 4 years. Like that's a detriment to their draftability or whatever. So it's like there's no reason that dude should not have been drafted, but he stayed in school for 4 years, and the NBA is all about 18, 19-year-olds and the possibilities and the development instead of people that's done it. Look at Brunson. Brunson was in school for 4 years. He went second round. There's no reason for that dude to go second round. So, I think Nimhard has had the talent to get in there. His coach, stood on the table with Jason Kidd to bring him in as an undrafted free agent. But I can definitely see maybe the common effect on Kyrie in Coop. And I think
Mhm.
Brandon Williams is a baller, dude. And I'm with you, Mike.
Yeah.
I freaking love Brandon Williams. He has a skill that absolutely no one on that team has. And that's the ability to turn on the Jets and get to the stinking cup anytime he wants. He's the only one on that with the skill. I worry sometimes if he can be a starting point guard in the league. But man, to run the second team, I don't think that could be anybody better than B. Will out there to do that. That dude can just score, and that's great.
To me, he's JJ Barea on a championship team
Absolutely.
with
Absolutely.
with Devin Harris skills. There's
Yep.
no substitute for speed.
Nope.
Just
Nope.
it.
Speed and control, and he has both of them.
And Devin Harris is singing his praises. He's like, yeah, I went full blast. I had fifth gear. He's like, once he learned how to play in fourth gear and then accelerate to fifth gear or decelerate to fourth gear.
Right, right.
Devin Harris is saying he adds that to his game, then he's going to be really dangerous, or a floater.
You always
And that's
talk about a young team. You need a young team, but you need that veteran leadership like a Najee Marshall, PJ Washington,
mhm,
Kyrie
mhm.
Irving to kind of harness that young energy and have that experience there to grow them as basketball players and as men.
Now I was going to say the same thing, but in regards to the point guard starting position, when Kyrie comes back, will he move over to shooting guard, or will they still keep Kyrie at point guard?
I would put Kyrie at the point, and I know it. Everybody can handle, especially when what you've done with Cooper Flag, as far as him playing the point guard position. We've seen enough of that, man. Just play off the ball. If you need to bring the ball up, that's fine. In certain situations, that's fine. I don't need you leading the offense at all, dog. I need you being the offense. So I think that experiment is done and dusted. So if you had Kyrie starting at the one with Najee and Coop and Lively when he's healthy, or PJ Washington, man, I think that's a starting lineup where you go okay, and then now you're bringing a guy like Clay, a guy like B. Will off the bench, Cisse off the bench to run that second
Mhm.
unit, and I think you'll be doing just fine. And then other players that you can kind of build the team around. So I think Kyrie is not the quintessential point guard. He's not going to get you 7, 8 assists a game, but he can definitely get everybody in position and break down the defense and get it out to the shooters that can get those open shots.
So
Yeah,
Donovan, let me ask you this. Kyrie has gravity, and he's also known as a clutch in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Will that improve Cooper's game? Just those two things, that the gravity and being able to make that clutch shot and at the end of the game where the pressure's relieved off of Cooper?
Man, I think so. And you know what? And I think that I don't think he'll relinquish that even when Kyrie comes back. And I know he's a clutch guy. You're right, Bob. He really truly is. But I really think they want him to be the man. And I think that's what's good for this year as far as all the situations that I can remember watching Mavericks basketball this year and all those clutch games that they've been in. It feels like 85% of the time it's on Coop. And I think that's great. I don't even care if you miss it, bro. Just don't be scared to pull it. I'll make the right play. And it feels like he's growing into that. And that's only going to help. Man, if you get anything out of this season, even if they don't make the playoffs, if they make the play in, who cares, man? You are developing a guy that will be your best player for the next decade if you want. And you're getting him every single situation this year to learn. You learn when you fail, and you learn when you succeed. You learn through it all. And he's doing just that this year, man. So whatever happens this year at the end of it, I think it's an A+ season because you know you have your guy and you're treating him like the guy, and he's being developed as the guy.
Even Troy Aikman said he learned more from a loss than he did from a win.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I like about Cooper is he's not shying away. He is attacking like, get out of my way. I am dominating, and ain't nothing you gonna do. I'm going to the
Right. Three's not going in. That's okay. I'll just attack the basket. He can get there with any hand, and he can make the play if he needs to pass it back out. He's playing really well this year.
I mean, he made a steal, was laying on the floor, got the ball to the Maverick. They went down the court. Clay took a three, and he comes swooping in for a two-handed dunk between three people.
Right.
He's like, they've talked about that in the last 3-4 broadcasts, even the national, is the ferocity that he plays with, not just the energy, but the ferocity, and he screams, it's like he's playing like a man's man in the game.
On both ends, too.
As a 19-year-old, for sure.
Yeah.
And speaking of clutch, like playing in the clutch.
That's a good segue right there. Look at you, Big Mike, with the segue.
I learned from the best. I appreciate it. Rich Paul's been in the news lately talking a lot, man, about a little bit of everything. And I've never had an opportunity to, well, I take that back. When my nephew was leaving college, he was a very good running back for West Texas A&M, and there was a lot of agents talking to him about coming to their firm. And some of them were good, some of them were not that good. I was like, because he always took me with him to kind of see what they're talking about, because I deal in contracts at my regular job, so we're going to talk about that. But anyway, I was looking at some of the contracts and kind of listening to what the guys say, and it kind of gave me an idea of, hey, you can go with him, go with there. When it comes to ages, Donnie, Rich Paul, do you consider him like he's come a long way as far as building his brand. What are your thoughts on him as as an agent, and him being so much in the news now, even with his new podcast? And I mean, I don't. It's really odd to me. What are your thoughts on?
Oh, I'm with you. When we were looking at some of the stuff during the break one time, and I was like, man, is that not like tampering or something? Like, I don't understand why we would say some of these things out loud on a podcast for everything to hear, and especially with what he's supposedly saying with Anthony Davis and all that. It just feels like, I'm trying to think of the right word for it. It feels like he understands his clout and his say in the sport, and he's kind of trying to take advantage of it a bit. And I think that's the mentality that they have over there at Clutch with he and LeBron and all those guys, because they have built it up from scratch. And they have a lot of success with that. But man, it just doesn't feel right. Some of the things that he's saying now, when you're actively an agent for guys and out there trying to see if you can move people, it just, I don't know. It feels like too big for the britches at times. And I don't understand why. And I don't see how he's getting away with it. Well, maybe because of the LeBron factor, he's getting away with it. I don't know. But it's almost like he's operating like he has no repercussions or consequences to anything he says. And that feels a little bit weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, he got players like Anthony Davis on his roster as a client, Zach LaVine, Draymond Green, Tyrese Maxey, Fred Van Vliet, to say the least. But the way he's talking as far as on his podcast, yeah, I agree. I think it's some tampering with that. Like, you're telling people that, they should do X, Y, and Z, and that's got to be some type of legality to that, to even speak on that matter.
Yeah, it feels like it feels like a bad word if I'm saying bullying, but it feels like a little bit of bullying, and it feels like, all right, well, I can just walk up to the line. I guess it's almost like with the kids and the parents. Sometimes they walk right up to that line to see how the parents are going to react. They step over it and get reprimanded. They'll step back, and it feels like he's kind of walking up towards it. And you know what? If I'm an athlete and I'm trying to maximize my career and get the most out I can, I would probably most likely go that way if they wanted me. I'm not going to lie about that. It feels like he's really good at his job. He's just
Mhm.
letting everybody know how good he is at his job. And sometimes that'll rub people the wrong way.
Well, in your thoughts, what would be a good agent?
Like agent overall, man,
Yeah, overall, what makes a good agent?
you know what? It's about caring about your client. And that's where I think sometimes he may step in it a bit because it feels like he cares more about the brand than the client. And maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. But it feels like if because I do have an agent.
Hmm.
And I would want someone who truly cared about my career and trying to maximize everything they can out of my career. I think that's the job that I would expect out of my guy. And I think that's what everybody else would expect also. If I'm up for a deal or whatever, man, get the most that you can from me because the more money I make, the more money you make. So let's go.
Facts.
And caring about my career. But if you really care a lot about yourself and it feels like the decision's all about you than me, then that's where I would have a problem if I'm a client. But you're putting millions of dollars in people's pockets as far as that goes, and they probably just don't care. I just want you
Yeah.
to care about my career, man. That's all I want. Just make sure that you're doing the best for me as a client, and you know, if you need to listen to me or go to bat for me, all that stuff. That's all I would want if with my agent, as far as I'm concerned, caring about my career and caring about me.
Man, that's a good ass answer. Excuse my language, but yeah, I mean, it kind of, some of the agents that we talked to, going back to what I was doing with for my nephew, they said some of the similar things, like they was family oriented, but you kind of can see through some of the minutia when
Right,
you
right.
listen to them for a little bit.
You can see when they're blowing smoke up your skirt.
Yeah.
You can feel the breeze back there when they're blowing the smoke up your skirt. So you can kind of feel that. So with so much money involved when it comes with sports and all that other stuff. Yeah, you truly have to be careful about who you select to make sure that they're treating you the right way. I think some of these college kids are feeling the effects of that now with the portal and having those agents, and sometimes maybe not looking out what's best for them. And some of them are getting caught. You know what I'm saying? With not getting the best deal or trying to make a move and then realizing that that move is not supposed to be made, and then
Mm.
too late about it. So it's you are putting your career in the hands of someone else. So that's always a little bit of nervous time, but that's where we are.
And agents pretty much like when you sit down with an agent and you negotiate your contract, they really speak for you. Now, let me ask you this question though. If they say something that you don't agree to, as far as say, for instance, you sat down with your agent, you talked to them about XYZ, this is what you expect out of this contract, your
Right.
next agreement, and then they add something into it without you knowing it. How do you kind of rectify that as a player?
And I think you would have to make sure that you are kind of in the loop with everything that's going on. There's no way you'll be in the negotiating room. That just doesn't happen. It's the agent and whoever else you're dealing with the team. That's how it's going to.
Mhm.
But you just always have to. I guess you have to be trusting and
Yeah.
knowing that that guy is looking out for you and doing what's best for you and putting any changes that are going to be made that you're notified about it. And usually when it comes to that, they'll tell you that I will not do anything because the ultimate answer is on you. If I tell you and I negotiate this deal and I give you all the details and you don't want to do it, we're not going to do it because you're the client and it's all about you. So I think every agent will say that. Of course, they'll try to talk you into say, this is the best that we can do. This is it. So, I don't know if we can get anything better. And then you have to trust that that's the case. So it's a little nerve wracking, man. And I am not nearly on the level of what they're doing in sports, but with the same way, you just have to make sure that you're involved and they're involved and they're trying to do what's best for you. And if you trust that, then you just go for it. You're putting your career in their hands, man, and that's sometimes a little bit scary when it comes to that.
All right, and I got one last question for you. In regards to Rich Paul, when he first started out, it was all basically LeBron kind of footing the bill for his progress in his company. Is that correct?
I think so. I definitely know it. I always put it like you know how they have like disturbing the peace, and they had this big rap group, but Ludacris was the one that kind of made it first, and then he opened the doors for everybody else. The Saint Lunatics with Nelly kind of
Yeah.
got out there first, and then opened the door for everybody else. So I'm pretty sure that was the case in that. But man, I'm not going to discount what he's done as far as
Mhm.
building up his brand and building up his clientele list and all that stuff because those boys work hard. He and Maverick
Yeah.
Carter and all those guys, they work their butts off to get and build what they built. And it's so big that I don't think you can just point out and say it was because of LeBron. I will bet you he started it and he was the one that
Mhm.
kind of opened the door for him. But man, they kicked through that thing and ran through it. So good for them. They've done their thing for real.
Nah, I salute them guys for just even doing what they did from where they
Absolutely.
were. You know what I mean? Coming from out of high school together and
Yeah.
doing that.
Out in
That's
Akron
crazy.
doing this thing now, man. Yeah, that's something else. They've done it. They probably talked about it a ton and say, hey man, when I get there and I make it, I will open the door for you and we can make this thing happen together. And they stuck through it and they did it. And that's to be commended for real. No matter what you think about LeBron or Rich Paul or what he said or anything like that, that is definitely to be commended because you have a lot of people with a lot of dreams that it don't materialize like that and they've done it, and they're still kicking indoors and kicking butt. So that's great
Yeah, that's the ultimate homeboy put
for
on situation right there for
for
sure.
sure.
Boogie Bob, Rich Paul, as a agent, is he somewhat of a great agent in your opinion? Because he got some pretty decent clientele in regards to his client base. And give me your answer on that as well, and also kind of elaborate what is a good agent in your opinion.
Well, y'all touched on it. I personally can't say whether he's a really good agent or not, because I don't have firsthand experience. And y'all both discussed. I mean, LeBron handpicked him, but just because someone opens the door for you doesn't mean you're going to succeed in something. Uh, but why uh, Donovan was talking, three things came to mind that weren't on my original list. Uh, Look what happened with Dave McGetty and Micah Parsons and Jerry Jones. Just that whole situation and how it
Yeah.
blew up. Uh, but then get into what makes a good agent. I was in purchasing, so we did a lot of negotiations. But an agent is always recruiting. So it's like if you're not their top draw, the bottom guy in their pool of players or their representation, you may not get as much attention as the guy that's maybe pulling in more money. But even if they have a small client list, I've met Jordan Roy in person, and they're always recruiting. It's like college coach, so they always have to be recruiting new blood and recruiting, and working with owners and GMs. Uh, and the one thing that as Donovan was talking about, it just kind of came. It's a relationship business. If the relationship between the agent and who they're representing isn't good, then that's on either the agent or the person they're representing. And there's got to be trust between the two parties. Uh, the Luca trade, I mean, we'll talk about it for another decade. But the agent didn't call Luca and let him know until the very last minute when it had already been done. So, and I think he changed agent. I'm not sure who his agent is now, but here's some of the things I wrote down as far as what a good agents are ones who can negotiate in a way that allows them to continue working with the owners. If the owners despise you, you might have won the battle, but you lost the war. So that's one thing a good agent will do. Good agents also have repeated negotiations. So if you leave the other party with a bad taste in their mouth the next time, if you scrape too much money off the table, the next time that other side is going to remember that, and they may not negotiate with you in good faith. Uh, the other thing I wrote: good agents have good relationships. both player and owner relationships. Superstars usually have 3 or 4 contracts, so an agent has to be able to leave the contract negotiations and have everyone feel like they won something. So if there's any animosity between a player and agent, an owner, or GM, the next time they've got to negotiate another contract for that player, people remember the history. So, Rich Paul's got a good track record from what I know, which means he's either great at negotiating or he's great at relationships or maybe both. So to me, that's the thing that I would look for in an agent is someone that I could trust, someone I have a relationship with, and someone who I know in negotiations is not going to burn my future contract, not the current contract, but my future contract. And that's the only thing I think Rich Paul might be. Uh, Conflict of interest, I think, is what Donovan was alluding to with the podcast. And he's been out in the public is, he wants a contract extension for AD. Well, okay, there might be a team out there willing to do that, but now you just nixed this trade value because the other teams that aren't willing to do that aren't going to want to trade for him. And there's 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 a at least a handful of players in the NBA where they're not going to get their next contract. John Morant got a supermax contract. You think anybody? I mean, they refused to extend him this year. You think anybody's going to give him a supermax contract? Zach LaVine had a huge contract. Nobody wanted him, and he's been traded. He's going to be a free agent. There's a lot of players that are overpaid. So my point is the agent did a great job getting them the max money, but they didn't maximize their total future earnings. So the next contract isn't going to be as high or it's not going to be as good. So if they'd maybe taken a little less, then the next contract might have been a little more. If y'all remember,
that little less is probably never on an agent's mind right there. You get
I understand, but Dennis Schroeder was with the Lakers and turned down.
Sure.
I don't remember the numbers, but he turned it down, and he's been a journeyman ever since.
And maybe that's
So,
on the player. Maybe sometimes it's on the agent.
You reach for that extra. Like I was in purchasing, and my boss said, "Well, if you think there's another nickel, then grab the nickel." And I said, "I'll leave the nickel on the table because he'll feel good, and the next time I have to negotiate with him, I'll get that nickel back plus some." Because they walk away from the table feeling like they did a good job and they were comfortable with it. And sometimes, as a purchasing person, I had to put it at a point and say, "Hey, where's your walk away? If you can't meet this is my expectation, this is where I got to be, then walk away. If you can't get there, walk away because the next time you might be the guy I've got to go to." So agents got to walk that fine line of not upsetting both sides. And when you got to represent the player and deal with GMs and owners, that's a fine balancing act.
Right. Well put. Well put. And one thing I want to say about that too is that most agents, they have more than just like a handful of clients. And, I mean, especially good agents. If you look at Rich Paul, he has a lot of major clients, and then underneath those are a bunch of like 100 other clients. So
Right.
you have a whole bunch of personalities you got to deal with, and then you got to select which ones you're going to specifically deal with. And I think he picks the cream of the crop, your AD, your Zach Levines, your whoever, and LeBron basically, and he kind of deals with those guys. So being an agent for sure, man. I don't think I could do it. I mean, even though I deal with contracts, I'm not finna sit there and I don't know if I'm good personality wise when it comes to dealing with people. So I guess I probably wouldn't be a good agent because I'm not I mean, most agents have to be somewhat of a salesman. So
you absolutely absolutely do.
Big Mike, that's when you call me in because I'm known for negotiations.
Well, Bob's gonna leave your nickel on the table. Call me. I'll grab the nickel. I don't care. I'll give it to you.
Give me that
But they're going to quit making nickels pretty soon, Donovan. So, I might have to change that phrase to a dime.
That's right.
So Memphis had this one player, man. He was like a beast, right? And he really played really, really tough for a long time. And the player I'm talking about is Mr. Zach Randolph. Man, he was one of those guys that had his own name. They call him Debo at the time. When did they call him Debo? I believe
Absolutely.
so. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, I like watching him play. And we're gonna talk about Mr. Zach Randolph. We're gonna start with you, Bob. Give me some thoughts on what you felt he brought to the game as far as the NBA goes in his career in a nutshell.
So, first of all, up here, subscribe, Swish for real. Donovan Lewis,
There
Boogie,
you
Big
go.
Mine, subscribe, like, listen to the ticket, 1310,
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
he's right there, right
the
there.
invasion. So
Right.
I said all that because we talked about Zach Randolph in episode 56. So if you're a subscriber to this channel, go back and look at episode 56. I won't rehash his career stats. Only thing I'll say is they're not overly impressive. But the two things I'll say about Zach Randolph, he was a winner and he was a very effective player. Uh, Memphis bully ball that time, they were a tough out. They made it to the Western conference finals, and Spurs had trouble getting past them and won titles when they did. uh what I want to mention first, there's a guy that's a rookie, and he was routinely the organization routinely criticized for paying draft capital to move up to get this guy, and I'm talking about Derek Queen. He
Mm-hmm.
reminds me a lot of Zach Randolph. His body's not as sculpted as Zach Randolph, and I think in a weight room and some workout he'll get that way. But the Derek Queen, you watch him, and I see Zach Randolph. It's like Zach Randolph average dang near averaged a double double for his career. To me, Zach Randolph defined a team style, and he gave that Memphis Grizzlies team an identity. If you remember, I think didn't he play for Portland and Washington? He got
Uh,
traded a couple times before.
yeah, I feel like he's with Sacramento for a bit also.
Yeah, he played for Sacramento, Portland,
Yeah.
New York, and the Clippers.
And he when you talk about two-way players, they talk about AD being a two-way player. Zach Randolph was definitely a two-way player. Like if you watched over the years during Dirk's career, one of the players, it wasn't because he was fast. He was smart. He was big. He gave Dirk trouble. He gave
Oh my
Dirk
God.
trouble
Yeah.
because he had the size and the wherewithal to stay with Dirk. Uh, but he was a two-way player. He had 6 seasons where he averaged 20-10. And the only other player I can think of going back in that era is Elton Brand was a 20-10 guy. They don't talk about those guys anymore, but they talk about triple doubles. Back then it was double doubles. But Zach Randolph was a winner. He was a team player. He gave the Grizzlies identity, and they were a tough out. And a lot of that was, Rasheed Wallace was kind of that same player. Rasheed had maybe better 3-point shooting. Detroit won a championship when they got Rasheed Wallace. So Zebo's stats really don't jump off the page, but when you watch him, you're like, I want that guy on my team. I don't want to have to go against him.
You know what else doesn't jump, Boogie Bob? Zebo. Couldn't jump an inch off the ground, man, but he was always in the middle and always in the ruckus, man. I always used to love watching that dude play. When he was in Portland, took a couple of years for them to kind of figure out what the heck he was going to be. But once they
Yeah.
did, like his third year, man, that sucker just came out of nowhere and was just out there dominating. Always loved this game, man. I used to hate it because they did give the Mavs so much trouble because they were just he's just so tough, man. And it was like no messing around with him. You had a couple of players that you would just not mess with. And he was always on the list with like, Rasheed Wallace or Zebo or, stuff like that. Like I always loved watching him play. And everybody would tell you to a man how good of a dude he was off the court. Just a rough and tumble dude on it, but always a good dude. I always go back to the meme I always see of him walking off the court in slow motion, and there's a fan that's reaching out to grab him, and that little kid had Down syndrome, but he was kind of tugging on him, and it looked like he was turning around, getting a little upset, and he saw the kid, and he reached back and went back and hugged him and all that stuff, and it's like that just felt like that kind of epitomized who that dude was. Everybody talked about how cool he was off the court, but you just did not mess with him on it, man. I loved his game. I really, truly did. When he was in Memphis, it was him and Marc Gasol together, man. They were
Yeah.
big in the middle.
Tony Allen too.
Right. Especially with him and that defense, man. They were tough to deal with out there, and I always loved watching them play.
And
Yeah,
he
they
was
called
a
him the
clean
Brand House
player.
back
I,
then.
I don't think he was really a dirty player like, Rasheed with, he had the temper tantrums or temperament that Draymond Green has, but he is every bit as effective as those two and just as tough. I mean, San Antonio, they dreaded when they looked at the final standings and they realized they had to go through Memphis to
I
get
know.
to the
Yeah.
finals.
Yeah.
They dreaded that. Like
Always a tough
it
out.
wasn't just Dirk he shut down. He shut down Tim Duncan, Mr. Fundamental as well. He that's why I say he not only gave an identity, but he was a team player. And like what Donovan, watch Derek Queen when you get a chance with New
Yeah, yeah.
Orleans.
New
And
Orleans, yeah.
I mean, he looks a lot like Zebo to me. And I mean, can you imagine Zebo with Dirk and the Mavericks back then together?
That would have been a good addition. They needed somebody tough like him for sure.
Tyson Chandler feel that for sure.
No doubt. Yeah. Until they got someone that could have Dirk's back, it was a little rough. I used to say with those Maverick teams, it's always rough when your toughest player is like Jerry Stackhouse. He's a tough dude and loves Stackhouse, but he's like 6'4". And like you need somebody big and tough on the team. And when Tyson got there, that filled that void for sure.
If you had to compare Zebo to any player besides Derek Queen, who would you compare him to all time?
Man,
Donovan.
that's a good one. I don't think he had the scoring capability of a Charles Barkley. He couldn't fill it up like Chuck could, but it's kind of that undersized guy that played in the middle that you look at and wouldn't think he was as athletic as he is. So it's tough because Charles is one of the greats, and I don't know if Zebo's game was as established and polished as Charles Barkley, but I do think that kind of comes to mind because dude couldn't, and Barkley could jump. I don't want to take any athleticism away from him, but that kind of
Rick Mahorn for Detroit.
Rick Mahorn, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel Zebo is definitely a better scorer, more skilled than Mahorn. He was tough,
He had the toughness of Mahorn.
Right, no doubt. But he had the skill to score. I thought he was you want to talk about fundamentals. I thought he had that because that kind of offset his lack of jumping ability to always get his shot off and not get it blocked. Like you would think that the dude can't jump and you can block his shot, but you couldn't. So, man,
his footwork.
Yeah,
his footwork was immaculate.
So if you look at another player and they have amazing footwork, I think you can compare that to Zebo.
Yeah, because I was trying to think in my head, who does he remind me of? There's not, like you said, there's not very many people you could think of off the top.
Chief Wallace that I mentioned earlier, and there's actually a kid that's the son of a former NBA player at Duke that's a little bit of Zebo, can't jump but can shoot and get his shot off. Carlos Boozer's kid.
Oh yeah, Carlos Boozer's Cameron Boozer, right?
Yeah. Well, there's two of them. They're twins, but the one at Duke,
right?
He can light it up, but he not terribly great jumper, but he's got great footwork.
Well, interesting. Guys, thanks so much for a great show. We had a great time talking about some great topics. Rich Paul was one of what I really wanted to talk about, and we got a chance to express that. I learned a little bit more about agents. I mean, even though I dealt with them, like I said earlier, with my nephew. Boogie Bob, we're going to close out, man. Tell the people where they can find you on the social media streets, man. Give them your handles and let them know where they can find you.
Well, you can always find me here at Boogie Bob or up there at Swish for Real. And listen to this man, Donovan on the ticket, 1310 and McLaren, the invasion. It's good stuff, man. I'm a P1.
I appreciate
He
it.
won. Me too. Me too.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Donovan, where they can find you at on these social media streets, man? Give them your handle so they can catch up with you, man.
I'm on Twitter at Great Donovan. And let's see, what other social platform? I'm on Instagram. It's Donovan Lewis 1310. So I don't post too much. I need to up my posting. I kind of lurk out there, but I am available. So if you want to look that up, you definitely can, man. Would love to hear from everybody, man. And I appreciate you too for having me on, man. This is really cool. And we need to get you guys back in studio again one time. That was a fun time when you guys were sitting in for the show. That was awesome.
Absolutely. And like Norm said, Donovan loves basketball.
Love the NBA. Yes, I do. I love talking
real
sports also, man. That's great. Thanks for having me.
Man, already, man. I appreciate you, man. Guys, again, just check them out. 1310 the ticket, man. 96.7, right?
96.7 also on the stream worldwide, baby. Let's do it. Worldwide.
And guys, you can catch me anywhere on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I finally just got some social media cred now. We're working. People look at me for my directorial stuff, so I ain't tripping on the film stuff. But I always share Swish for real, guys. We're going to always get it popping. We're glad. Donovan, thank you for coming on.
Oh, they love me. They love me. I appreciate it. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
Yes, that's Swish for real, guys. We are out. Take care. Peace.